Welcome back, Cowboys Nation, to episode 8 of the Sky Into Eye show. I am Skywalker, still here with my co-host, as always, Aisha Morrison, aka 2I. How you doing, lady?
I good. We got
Good.
I good. Well, we got like 2 weeks until actual stuff is happening. So
Next week.
just listen. The Barnacles.
Yes.
One carry the two. Oh, it is next week.
Cowboys Training Camp is next week, ladies and gentlemen. And man, look, we're fired up.
God.
We have let me get my papers here to show y'all. We got a watch list. We got some things we are looking for out there at Oxnard. The Cowboys will arrive July 21st, and they'll start practicing, I think, the very next day. And we will have you covered from A to Z, from top to bottom. You're going to want to make sure you stick here with us as we break it all down. But yeah, man, I think all the Cowboys Nation is fired up to get to training camp because this dead period has been.
Yeah, and I think there is some general excitement and enthusiasm to kind of see what this team formulates to be. I mean, obviously, a lot of new coaching hires. You brought in George Pickens.
Yep.
It wasn't super flashy in the way that they did things, but I do believe that they did some stuff to get better. We'll start to be able to see them put it on the field and actually put it into motion and see what's really going on. I mean, we're gonna get some answers. We're gonna get some bad answers. We're gonna get some good answers.
We're gonna find some things out. And that's the thing about, when you're putting together a watch list, there are so many things to look for, especially when you have a new coaching staff. You have obviously a really good draft class. You bring in a big name and a big talent like a George Pickens. You can go in so many different directions. So we're not going to list everything. So you can list in the comments chat what you're watching for. And at the end of this, we'll kind of leave the show with the number one thing we're both looking forward to. But allow me to start this thing off getting a little defensive, if you will. Okay. I feel like we talk a lot about the Cowboys offense, obviously with Dak coming back from the injury, George Pickens arrival. We got some new offensive coaches. The head coach is an offensive guy, but defense is important too. Got to show them a little love. Cowboys going to need this defense. And we were talking about this last week, and I said, we got to put this in on the show. Is this Cowboys defensive line enough? But allow me to start off with the edge, where I do think this unit has potential to be the best we've seen from at least a pass rush standpoint in quite a long damn time. When you're rolling out a Micah Parsons, a Dante Fowler, Izaraku, if Sam Williams can get mostly all the way back, Sam Williams, and then when you include a pass rusher on the interior like Osa, this has a chance to be one of the better pass rush units, or at least the deepest one we've seen in Cowboys land in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think back to the times when Dan Quinn was here and they had some guys that rotated in and all that stuff, the Dorrances, the Fowlers and stuff. I do think when you talk about the defensive end room, there is depth there that doesn't make you cringe. Because I'll say, even Luigi, how do you say his last name? Is it
I think you might have had that right.
Valayan? Luigi Valayan? I saw him in OTAs, and there were a couple times he popped to me getting off the line of scrimmage, and I was like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on him.
Okay.
Obviously, you brought in Peyton Turner as well. I believe that Peyton Turner is going to be more of a run-stopping defensive end in the ways that I was seeing him used. But no, I agree. We're looking for Marshawn Nealon to kind of return to form and see what he can bring from a pass rush perspective. But we know that he's a run-stopping defensive end. I think you got some versatility in that defensive end room. And I agree with you, Scott. I think when it's time for them to pin their ears back and go get the quarterback, I think it's going to be tough on teams, especially with Osa on the interior and the addition of Solomon Thomas, who I think is going to have a really good year as well here. Yeah, man, I'm not sad about this defensive end room. The D tackle position is always the one, but
Yeah.
I'm not too terrified about what I think these defensive ends are going to be able to do. Obviously, we need them to stop the run.
Yeah.
But the pass rushing, I think it's going to be there.
Let's pick it up both from pass rushing and run stopping. From a pass rush standpoint, I remember last year when Micah went out, just how poor it was to rush the passer. I kept talking about how they lacked juice. They lacked real athletic guys to be able to get after the quarterback when he was out, whether that be for, injury, for games, or just plays. Like, think
Mhm.
about even when he went out for plays, there wasn't that type of juice. Now, just Dante Fowler alone gives you that. Then Izaraku, right? And we
Yeah.
talk about Sam Williams, but I can't leave out the other side that you talk about. Stopping this run.
Mm.
No D laws here. Okay. I'm not saying there is a DeMarcus Lawrence on this team in stopping the run. However, from a defensive end standpoint, however, I look at a guy like Marshawn Needham, like you said, year two, his continued development. I think Micah is still continuing to develop as a run stopper. I think he gets way more flack than he needs to be getting as a run defender, especially when you look across the league at elite top tier 2 or 3 pass rushers in the damn
They not
league.
stopping the run for real.
Right.
They
And
not.
then a very underrated name you brought here that I think will do some moonlighting at defense end in early downs, Solomon Thomas.
I
I
agree.
think Solomon Thomas will see some early down snaps at defense end to help with that with the run. I'm not saying he's a big time run defender, but the
Mhm.
size aspect, right? Strong side defensive end to help stop the run. You can see him out there. It's more of a question mark than the pass rushing standpoint because there is no D law. But and then you brought up Peyton Turner. I don't know if he'll
Mhm.
make the team, but they have the bodies and maybe Sam Williams can also be a guy there. We just have to get out there and see it. And that's honestly for me, pass rush, training camp wise, I think they're going to do great. The run defense, I do want to see if these guys step up on that side of the ball for that aspect at defensive end.
The thing about it is I can't believe how long this has been a problem, bro. Like how long the inability to stop the run has been going on. I mean, and even I'll say on a consistent basis.
I was about to
Be-
say that on a
Because
consistent
there's
basis. Yeah.
times because there's times we've seen this team adamantly stop the run. But you're just looking for guys that want to do it. Like that want to do it. And I do believe and here's an I'm gonna say this when I when I was doing the draft show, and even so, I talked to a couple scouts, Senior Bowl, all that stuff. Defensive end is becoming a this or that position. It just is because teams prioritize speed rushers. I remember asking a scout for the Cowboys, what is one position that you think teams are willing to go all out for? And he said speed rushers.
Mm.
And a lot of speed rushers are lighting the ass. They just are. So it takes time for a guy to develop, which I think Donovan Izaraku will continue to work that because his hands are good. I just think he still needs to work some of the technical things with sinking his hips and all that stuff with stopping the run. But incredible pass rusher, toolbox, all those things. And I'm
Smart.
sure I'm sure players are prioritizing pass rush ability because they understand that is what pays. And it's weird because I feel like Demarcus Lawrence was kind of I'm not sure. I know he liked the title of being a run stopping defensive end, but he didn't want to be considered someone that could not rush the passer too. So it's like a give or take thing. So I say all that to say that I expect that Eberflus is gonna field the guys that want to stop the run. And then, I mean, for pass rush situations, I think we're just going to have multiple different packages because it's hard to ask. We are talking about asking this team to not do to. We're talking about coaches not asking guys to do things they're not good at.
Mm.
I don't want you just be trying to beat a dead horse and trying to make somebody stop the run and they suck at it or they don't understand it. I want a guy out there that understands it and wants to do it. Who do you think that is? What
I,
guys do you think want to stop the run?
I think they
And
are. So it's tough in how you worded it. I don't think any defender is out there not trying to stop the run. You know what I'm saying?
no, I think you got to take a particular.
But I
It's
do
a,
I do think each guy has a particular set of skills that
mm,
you should lean into. And a guy like Dante Fowler to me is not a guy I'm rolling out there on 1st and 10. Unless obviously it's a new series or something like that, or 2nd and 3. Like he is clearly not a run defender in that sense. Like not any point in his career. He is a
yeah,
pass rusher guy. Um,
yeah,
Rocco's a rookie. He's going to be, I think, a DPR designated pass rusher to start off. I do think he has the IQ to develop his run defense. The better, obviously he gets, the more he plays. But he's probably going to be another DPR type of guy. But you mentioned something to
mhm,
me that I agree with. I think it is a good mix. I think with Nealon, I think with I do think that Solomon Thomas is going to moonlight out there. So we got him. I don't know if Peyton Turner is going to make this team. But Sam Williams has the size. I think he'll have the mentality to want to do it too. I think there's a mix of, like you said, either or. And I think Micah is going to continue to develop a more balanced approach in the game. I thought he actually showed improvement in
I agree.
stopping the run last year and being disciplined, containing the edge, and doing his job to the point where he was frustrated that safeties weren't filling the alley and the linebackers weren't filling the gaps. I think he'll continue to improve. So it could potentially be a give or take with some of these guys, but I think it's a good mix right now. It's a matter of going out there and proving it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think even with Micah getting some help from the interior, I think the amount of attention he gets does make it difficult for him as well. So it's gonna be one of those things where it's like guys are gonna have to step up. But I do think that Micah has a good feel for the run. It's just sometimes he be having 2, 3 bodies getting thrown
Yeah,
thrown at him,
I,
and you,
I tell you this about the run. It's not a one person thing. And I
oh
think
no,
in Cowboys Nation, we tend to do that. And I've been guilty of that with defensive tackle and things like that. But I do understand that it takes the entire defense and not just
yeah,
from a talent standpoint, from a mentality standpoint.
mhm.
Because if that was the case, if it all was just about one player, we got one of the better defensive ends against the run for years, DeMarcus Lawrence, and we still don't consistently stop the run. So what does
They
that
just
tell
don't
you?
run over there. They just
What's
don't run over there,
or
or they
they
run over
run it
there.
differently or what have you. One person is not going to change. Now, one person can be an anchor, and that's usually the interior defender, right? But it
Mhm.
takes the entire unit to stop the run, and I think that usually starts with the coaching implementing that as from a mentality, and then the players taking on that responsibility on the field. It all has to work together. To I.
Yeah, you gotta take the responsibility, and I'm really hope I hope there's an understanding, and I think there is, that that's the priority. Like, I think they probably know what we know, is that you got one of the best pass rushers in the game. You just signed back your 3 tech, who's one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in the game, 3 techs rather, and then you bring in a Donovan Izaraku, you bring back a Dante Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guys are I would venture to say that they're aware of the fact that they are gonna be able to rush the passer at a high clip. How do you get there? How do you set yourself up for that?
Got to
And
earn it.
that's obviously stopping the run
Yep.
is earning that ability to do that. So, yeah, man. Like you said, it's a collective effort. I'm not mad at this defensive end room though. Like I'm
No.
not mad right now. I'm not mad at it. I think that it is a good group of guys, but I want to see how they handle getting hit in the mouth, man.
Give me something else you're looking for out here at training camp.
Whew. I think I am going to be looking at, and I've been saying it, so you already know. I am looking at the corner position, specifically the nickel corner position. I every time I see Jordan Lewis post something with the Jags, I be hurting. I
You
be
know that
hurting, yeah.
you know they weren't going to bring him back for 10 million a year. You know that would happen.
But it's
Not
so
this thing.
it's so weird to me because I just think nickel corner is I believe it's becoming a priority position.
What
I
you over there
really
tapping?
do. Huh,
What?
oh,
You want
I'm
your Brian Schottenheim. Shotty be like, hey, y'all, man, how everything going, man? Hey, Shotty, if you don't stop beating up the microphone, big dog,
nah, man, I'm getting stressed out thinking about
don't be
it. That's me.
stressed.
I do some with my hands. I'm stressed because,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
it's one thing to not wanna pay Jordan Lewis. It's a whole nothing another thing to not know who his replacement's gonna be,
There.
and it can't be it's weird. This team has data and analytics people. There ain't no way that they don't know the efficiency he played with. There's just no way. And if they don't, but we've been through this sing and dance with Jordan Lewis. I'm not surprised that he's gone because he was undervalued for years here. So that's fine. But it's one thing to let him go. It's a whole nother thing to let him go and not have a freaking plan.
Yeah. That's
Now I'm
that's
looking at the
fair.
depth chart right now, and they have Israel McQuamu listed as the nickel cornerback.
The starter.
He's first on the depth chart.
Where is that on DallasCowboys.com? I I
No,
think
it's
I
on ESPN, but it's
okay.
been like that though. But just the fact that they moved him to nickel corner, again, we've seen him do it. My only thing with Izzy, and I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's a boundary corner.
I
Do I
agree.
think he can do some? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I
Sorry.
agree. No, I'm just ad libbing.
Yeah. I mean, don't I do believe that he can do some nickel things. When you're talking about maybe some of those bigger tight ends and stuff like that. But putting him up against some of these shifty guys, I don't like it because his height, and it's again, it's not his fault. That's why people don't want skyscraper corners like that, because at some point in time you gotta make up for the fact that those legs is long
Those
and those
hips.
transitions and the hips, it's just not as it's not like, smaller corners, they snap. They like
It's the
snap into
twitch.
position.
You know, when you're
Yeah.
6'4", it's tough to have that type of twitch just because you're the physical built. But so I would caution the depth chart right now at that position, and you could speak on this because you were out there because of how much they were rotating that position in OTAs and minicamp.
No,
So
that's
I don't
fair.
think they've settled on a nickel corner. I think that's something in camp that I think they're going to have to figure out, and I think a lot of that could be when the hell is Diggs and Revel, or going to return. That could play a factor in it too.
The vibe I'm getting is Savon Ravel is gonna be
Or Revel,
ready.
damn it, I keep doing that.
It's
Savant
okay.
Revel.
It's hard. I be saying it wrong too. It's like,
I got
I
the
don't
first
know.
name down, Pat Savant. I know they said Savant, but
Savon,
Revel. My bad.
Savon. But yeah, no, I be messing up too. But sounds like he's gonna be maybe ready to go. And maybe they do Israel Mukwama, who has been playing more boundary, they move inside. Or we again pay attention, because if we see Deron Bland out there playing nickel corner
Mm-hmm.
for all the camp, that's information too. That lets us know that they're not super trusting in what's happening as well. But Keemon Hall is someone I've mentioned his name. He's a guy to keep an eye out on. Saw him running with the twos during mini camp at that nickel corner spot. I have said it once, I've said it again. I think that his footwork and just some of his tenacity fits the position. He has a nose for the ball. You got to see it in motion, obviously, but it's a couple guys to keep an eye out on. So anyway, the nickel corner spot, man. I
So
know a lot of people talking about boundary, but
yeah.
that's the spot that I'm scared
Well,
about.
I think this is a perfect time to segue to another thing that I'm going to watch for out there, and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a specific person or player or thing. It's more so a front office thing, if that makes sense. And it's when will they add a veteran defensive player in camp? Okay,
Mm.
because if you go look at the history, at least under Mike McCarthy, damn near every single offseason in July or August, they've added a veteran defender all the way back to 2020. They brought in an Everson Griffin later in the offseason, I think sometime in August. In 2021, it was
Mhm.
Malik Hooker. In July, in 22, it was Anthony Barr. And then last year, it was two guys, Linval Joseph and Carl Lawson. And if you go look at those years, each one of those positions were positions we went into camp saying, hey, man, question marks. Do we have enough here? And one of those positions we're talking about, you're talking about it right now, Tuai, nickel corner, or just corner in general. And who is the big name we keep talking about? The most obvious name, Stephon Gilmore. You bring in a Stephon Gilmore here, obviously he would play boundary, which will help shift Deron Bland inside. That makes the most sense, right? We've
Mhm.
all been talking about that. But allow me to throw another name out here. And
Huh?
shouts out to my guy Guru, who been getting on me to talk more about him. And I was going to do a separate show about this, but I'm gonna bring it up right here on the Sky and Two Eyes show because I'm a little biased, right? I'm a little biased because short kings, little guys, I'm always rooting for, but he
Bye.
plays much bigger. Mike Hilton is
Okay.
still available out there at corner. And I had this conversation with Foots. I think we did it on the collective where I'm like, I'm a big Mike Hilton fan. I would love if they went out and got a Mike Hilton, but
Mhm.
does he fit the measurable formula that a guy like Eberflus has traditionally liked, right? He comes from the Marinelli tree where those guys, he likes longer corners out there. But then I was like, you know what? He inherited a guy in Indianapolis named Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore has been one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the entire National Football League for quite some time. And he didn't draft him, he didn't sign him, he inherited him and helped mold a Kenny Moore. So, yes, Mike Hilton from a size department may not make a ton of sense for Flus, but from a play department to if you haven't checked him out, go look at how Mike Hilton plays, man. He's a
Oh no.
physical dude. So you're familiar with Mike?
Yeah. He's I know. I don't know how I even started, but I was reading some stuff about the Steelers, and fans were really sad to see him go. They
Yeah,
thought he was a important part of their
was.
defense and what they like to do, and yeah, they wanted. I like to check the temperature of fans, and fans wanted to bring him back with the Steelers. So I know that the guy can play.
Yes.
When you talk about the measurables, what are we talking
He's
about?
5'9", a buck 85, buck 90. He's again, he's not a big dude, but again, he plays bigger. Like you talk about the Pittsburgh time when he became a free agent. I was pounding the table to get a Mike Hilton in here back in 2021. He went and ended up going to Cincinnati, played in the Super Bowl. Big. That was the year they won. I think got Cheetah Bay, Woozier. They got Mike Hilton. They
Mhm.
added some defenders. I think B.J. Hill, and they turned around that defense and they went to the Super Bowl. I would bring him in here because I do think he fits the mold of what Eberflus is looking for, which is a physical nickel cornerback who can play the run. And that's one thing Mike Hilton has done throughout his career is he can play that damn run. He run fits very well. He's physical. He can tackle. And with Flus, again, he gets this from a Rob Marinelli. He likes to blitz those nickel corners. And if you go look at Mike
Yes.
Hilton's career in Pittsburgh, he was one of the best, if not the best, blitzer at nickel. He had something like 10 or 11 sacks in his 4 years in Pittsburgh, but he didn't get used in that manner in Cincinnati. Well, you get Flus in here, or you get him with Flus, I think he can, pick that back up. But I think Mike Hilton, from a fit standpoint, is a fantastic fit. He's a
Hmm.
veteran on the other side of 30 who can kind of bridge that gap until Revel, I'm sorry, and Diggs get their feet together and get going. He can be the leader in that room. I don't think they have that right now in the cornerback
No,
room, right? And he could be
no,
that.
I agree. You got a lot of nuggets.
Yeah,
You got a
yeah.
lot of
I'm a
places.
big fan of Mike though. So again, I'm a little biased. I've been a big fan of his game for a while. He's not the same cover guy that he was probably in Pittsburgh because he was a little younger and more athletic. But again, just strictly fit. Mike Hilton makes a ton of sense here if they don't want to go the Gilly route. I don't think he's going to cost as much of a Stephon Gilmore.
No, he's not gonna cost as much, but also too, I just think you gotta throw things at the wall. Now, the thing about it is when you talk about a Stephon Gilmore or Mike Hilton, there's not a lot of names that are available at that position or at the corner position that you would be like how you are, where you like, yeah, he could come in, he could. There's not a lot of names there.
Mm,
So how long, like how far into camp do you need to be to see? Because that's the thing. That's what they're gonna be doing
yeah.
is how long is it gonna take? Now, don't get it twisted. The Cowboys corners got they work cut out for them. I got their work cut out for them. And I mean, you dealing with a CD and a George Pickens and a Jake Ferguson and maybe a Turpin every day, it's not gonna look good all the time, y'all. Especially since the defensive line can't really like finish plays, y'all. Like, be
Hmm.
prepared to see CD and those guys and George Pickens just looking like they cooking folks. Just be prepared because that's how talented they are. But I want to know how long it's gonna take, and even as an evaluator, how do you gauge
I
when
mean,
you have that much talent?
you can tell they have the practice film that we don't, right? That's one of my many gripes with the
Yeah,
front office and their process in the offseason. They tend to do this. This is their MO. Steven will
they
flat out
wait.
come out and say, "Hey man, we want to wait till we get to camp and see what we got." And to an extent, I like to look at things from both sides. To an extent, I get what he's saying, but then there's instances, and there's a lot of the times this is obvious where it's like, "Hey dog, what do you need to go to camp to see to know that you have a deficiency here?" Right? What do you need?
Mm.
Like at cornerback, I get it. Kyer Elam, former first round pick, did some great things in minicamp and OTAs. But are you really going to put everything on Kyer Elam? And say, you know what? He got better, so we're good to go? Absolutely
Mhm.
not, man. I feel like cornerback was one of those positions that you should still be actively trying to improve, as well as quickly here, defensive tackle. I mean, I know a lot of fans are like, hey, year 3, Mozzie Smith. And if you believe he's going to take such a significant jump in year 3 where you don't need to give any more help in that room, then more power to you. I just
You tripping.
I'm not on that train. Will he improve? He should. I really do. But to me, not to the point where it's like, hey, we straight at defensive tackle. I'm still trying to get a veteran to compete with Mozzie Smith
Yeah.
and made the best man win. And now you've improved your depth at that nose tackle position.
No, definitely. And we talked about earlier, when you talk about the run stopping and things like that, like you need an anchor in the middle of that defense. And I'm not saying again like that I have talked to you about it. We talked about it offline, is that you did see improvements in Mozzie as the year went on, but it is increments. And also
Flashes.
too, when you talk about the defensive tackle position, good teams have depth at that position because these guys' motors are not built like that. You do run into some defensive tackles that can go and go and go, but that is a position that is meant to be rotated to an extent.
Hmm.
And so you need a rotation to where there's not a huge drop off, because the problem is, and you we just talked about this with Micah, when he comes out the game, there's no pass rush with the defensive tackles. You want there to be at least some continuity when it comes to, if another guy rotates in, the other team's not substituting like Drewsty. We got him.
They got him.
We
Right.
up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
got him.
Or you get caught with a guy out there. Right. And that happens sometimes where teams say, oh, you got your end game rotation out there, your NASCAR package. So we're going to go big. We caught you. That's what they did with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn
Mhm.
would be so
All the
light,
time.
right? They go out in 13. Quinn will come out in big nickel, and they'd be like, oh, y'all coming out with a linebacker at or a safety at linebacker
Mm,
consistently? Oh, we just gonna stay big, right? We're
mm.
gonna do the obvious. So yeah, I'm with you. If you can get a couple defensive tackles to where, okay, Mozzie goes out, but another legitimate veteran know-how run defender steps in and he's able to fulfill that role to where the defense is like, damn, we have to play it the same way. We can't take advantage XYZ.
Yeah, they got to be adamant about it though. Like I said,
Yeah.
they got to be decisive. The minute that they see that there's an issue, they need to be on phones. They need to be trying to pursue these things, because those guys go fast. And a lot of these guys that we're talking about, they sitting up on the couch waiting.
Yeah.
You don't want to be. And I wonder, this is just me talking, I don't know, but I wonder if there have been some conversations with Stefan Gilmore, in a sense of like, just no, no, that's not what's happening at all. Because I don't want
You
Gilly
heard
mad
it
at
here
me.
first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, I
On
want
this,
Gilly mad at me. Gilly too quiet for you to be having him mad at you. I don't want nobody that is that
Gilly,
quiet and
Gilly ain't gonna.
chill like that mad at me.
Hey, Gilly,
They
we heard on the Sky and 2 Eyes show that you have interest in the Cowboys. What do you guys say about that? No. That's all. That's all Gilly gonna say. Gilly don't got much words in him. No.
no, he ain't about to
No, I
say
feel you. I hear
game
you. I hear you.
blouses to me.
Blouses.
He about to get me. So no, but I wonder if there have been some conversations on the back end of like, hey, stay ready. Maybe there's a number, maybe there's, because he is
I'm
familiar
sure. I'm
with
sure.
being here. And if I'm not mistaken, he's here often, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be fine with me. But back to the cornerback conversation really quick. We have not mentioned his name that much, but Lord have mercy, Kalen Carson could change this whole conversation if he come on with it.
Hmm.
I
That's
I'm
fair.
not saying, again, I'm not saying that you just don't go get out a veteran, go get a veteran. But if he shows semblance of who he was and who we expected him to be, then you feel even more a little bit more comfortable with this room, even from a boundary standpoint, because you just like, okay, well, at least you have that guy there.
No,
And again,
it's
he's
fair.
not super proven, but I just I don't know. It's weird how much the conversation about him has changed. um, and I just don't know. I have no idea what the team expects from him and what other people expect from him. I don't even know if you should expect anything right now. How do you feel about it?
I think it's one of those show me to be decided. TBD is what I call it. Because of, first of all, there's a new regime. And he was a fifth round pick under a different regime, likely being
Right.
asked to do different things. However, we've had this conversation multiple times too. I thought coming out, the way he played coming out, I know it changed when he got here. He was physical. He was in your chest. He was a physical tackler. I thought he could be a great, not great, but I thought he can move inside and have a home at nickel. I thought that's where he could live. And you're right. I wonder where Flus thinks he can play, because if they believes he can be a Mike Hilton type, right? Then or Kenny Moore type, then you slide him inside and let him play some nickel. So that's actually a great thing to watch for, just from a singular person, is where will Uh, where will Kalen Carson play? Because he didn't get out there much in camp and OTA. So that's a
No,
good
yeah.
eye.
If we see him at the nickel spot, then we say, "Oh, okay.
That's what
That's
they're
something to
thinking.
keep."
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking, and I would be okay with that. So anyway, yeah, just a lot of ifs and buts and
Yeah.
candies and nuts.
The young people would say to say pause, but because you said it, we're fine.
No, that's from.
I
Did you
know,
watch
but
Super Troopers?
I know. I'm just saying though. That's how they do me out here in these streets. Because I
Did
said
you
something. I've seen Super Troopers. Yeah, Favre
do
was
you
my
see
guy.
Super? So
Love Favre.
Super Troopers, the group that does, I think their name is like Blue
Just
Lizard.
something lizard. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's Blue Lizard.
somebody would
Those
tell us.
guys have it's another movie called The Slam and Salmon.
I didn't see that one. I saw
You
their horror parody movie, but I didn't see that one.
The Slam and Salmon will have you
And Beer
screaming.
Fest. I've seen Beer Fest too. So yeah,
Yeah, the Slam and Salmon will have you
I'm gonna
screaming. Do
have to write
yourself
that
a
down.
favor.
Slamming salmon, like Slam Williams. Gotcha, gotcha.
Yes, what's the big guy's name that
Farva.
was in Green Mile?
Oh, Michael Duncan.
Michael Duncan. This is one of his last roles,
Rest in peace.
and he wilding in there. He is hilarious
Yeah,
in
that's my
there. So
guy.
do yourself a favor, watch the Slam and Salmon. It's a little belligerent.
I like Michael Duncan in The Longest Yard too. He has an underrated role. I think he was. Yeah, he was in that one. But let's switch to the other side of the ball. Let's talk a little
Okay.
offense. We're kind of watching for out there on the offensive side. And we've had this conversation about the running backs, but you said, yeah, I definitely want to touch on this position now that we're in camp and this competition can heat up a little bit. Touch, and they
I know.
should they should be able to start hitting and running through guys a little bit more. And obviously, yeah, preseason too, but running back, one of the positions you're
Mhm.
watching for out here.
Yeah, again, I think we're getting into a little bit more serious side of things. Not saying that mini camp and OTAs aren't serious, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm looking for if there's consistencies with what I saw in OTAs and mini camp, like which groupings they were using, what guy was getting the most touches, how they were being used, seeing if there's any changes. Because I was just talking on the Texans podcast the other day, and I was just like, hey, this running back committee thing has an asterisk by it because I don't believe that every team is, don't get me wrong, yes, like they may have 3 or 4 guys, but they're only really using 2 or 3 of those guys
Mhm.
consistently, and I wanna know if we're gonna find out who the 2 or 3 guys that they consistently wanna use. I think we'll get a more of a look-see on, like, who they think is who, what they think this person's capable of, and how that works. So, I'm that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the groupings, but also who's getting the touches and when, how, all that stuff.
You know that I got to kind of piggyback off you right here, and you kind of got me thinking. Yeah, what I'm going to watch for at that position is no, it's not just an individual person, because I
Mhm.
do think all of these backs bring a particular set of skills to the team. There's
Mhm.
only one guy I think that has an elite set of skills, and that is a
Mhm.
Jaden Blue. Everyone else, they have skills. I don't think they're elite. But more important is, like you said, is this going to be a true committee approach? Or is this going to be, hey, we got 2 guys and what I call a tandem approach. And we're going to roll with this tandem and we'll have another guy designated as like a special teamer, or what have you. Maybe he's not even dressing on game day. Because I do think you have to decide how you want to roll this thing out here. Because if it's going to be committee, I think you're going to need at least 4 guys. Maybe not all 4 make the team too high, but 3 on the team plus practice squad. If you're going to run a tandem, you got to have 2 guys that dress plus your fullback. We got to remember that, and then another guy
Yeah.
on practice squad in case. So that's a good point. How are they going to deploy this room? And I remember one of the first pressers or second, I can't remember what it was. Shoddy, they asked him that. Shoddy was like, "We don't know yet," because last year we started off committee. We thought we were going to be committee, and we ended up leaning on Rico Dowd.
Yeah, and I'm Javante Williams is a guy that I think the pass needs to be on for him. I think we'll get a better look at what he can do and all that stuff when the pads come on. But back to the conversation about the running backs in general. Listen to me. I don't know what is going to happen. What I do know is that you're going to have receivers touching this ball too. So your fullback's gonna touch that ball out the backfield, I think. The CD Lamb's gonna touch that ball out the backfield, and Kevontae Turpin. There's only so many rush yards to go around. So I wonder how they're going to again
Can I touch on the
configure.
CD Lamb thing real quick?
Yes, I wanna you got the
Turpin,
fuss? You got that fuss in your
I do a little
voice.
bit right here for the CD
You
Lamb
got the
thing.
fuss.
Turpin makes sense because Turpin's a gadget. People get mad when you say this.
I
Turpin's an X
know.
factor. Let me use that.
Yeah,
In
that's fine.
reality, he is an elite gadget type player. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but he's an X factor
Mhm.
type of guy that can do so many things. CD Lamb. CD Lamb to me is like a Micah Parsons, where if Lamb wanted to play running back, he could have played running back. If Micah wanted to be a safety, a corner, a defensive tackle, a running back, quarterback, he probably could have did it, right? They're talented in that way. Do you think the Cowboys used CeeDee Lamb as a rusher over the last few years because they didn't have a great rushing attack, so they just threw him in there to run? Or do you think he's going to be truly a part of this run game because of that reason? Maybe now they don't have a full-time guy that they trust, so they've got to throw Lamb in there. And the reason why I ask that question is I would rather have a back that doesn't require CD Lamb or a run game that doesn't require CD Lamb to get unnecessary running back carries.
Oh no, I agree. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree that it was a little bit more based off of necessity. Cause I remember last year, like where they would run him, and it was just like, dang, we needed that 10 yards,
The
like real bad.
facts,
Like
facts.
you needed that 10 yards, like real bad. But I think it may be, especially since like you said, that's what we're watching for. We're watching for
Yeah,
what this running back room looks like, and if they do look like, I believe, and I know we're about to touch on it. I think this offensive line, specifically the interior, is gonna move people off this damn ball. I do. I really believe that, and I feel like this run scheme is gonna open up things for these guys. But I will say, with CeeDee Lamb, and he was taking snaps with the running backs, doing different handoffs and stuff like that. I also think, and this is just me, I also think it's a manipulation tactic. I don't think that he's always going to touch the ball. I
out the
think that
backfield.
maybe they are trying to out the backfield. I think that maybe they're also trying to establish it because he's CeeDee Lamb and you got to account for
Get the
him.
ball in his
And
hands any way possible,
yeah, and
type
how
of
is that
thing.
gonna set up the rest of, different lineups and things like that? How does that deceive the defense? How does it set up other things later in the game for maybe a big play when they're expecting for him to get the ball?
It,
I don't know. I don't know if it's just we want him to touch the ball. I think it might be a mix, and well, what can we get from this as an offense if he does touch the ball maybe once or twice like a game or whatever.
yeah,
So I
so
don't know.
not necessarily leaning on CD to get 4 rushes a game, but maybe every so often he touches out the backfield. It could be a good change up, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I bring it up because it's and shot. Y'all let me know how you feel. Would you rather have a run game where you can keep CD Lamb as a pass catchy weapon and keep him out there where he's most dangerous, or is it's okay to mix it with CD Lamb in the backfield? That's
Would
something
you
to
rather have
definitely check.
Turp or him? Who
Ooh, that's a good one.
like, if you had to choose one of them, would you choose
That's
Turpin to be
good.
that guy, or we choosing CeeDee Lamb?
Oh, that's
I'm
that's damn good question. Because they do different things. I think
Yeah,
CD Lamb is traditionally a better runner, but boy, you give Turp an inch, he taking a mile, right?
and
So
this offense is gonna
I'm gonna say Turp.
a part of Connor Riley's philosophy and Clayton Adams' philosophy and the philosophy in the NFL now is that you can be an efficient run game. You can be efficient and be able to work the clock and stuff. You need explosive plays.
Do
You need explosive plays. These are two of your most explosive players. Also, too, Jadon Blue, explosive. So I think maybe in a pinch, that's what you do. That's
Yeah.
what you maybe that's what you do.
That goes back to what I've been talking about for so many years with this offense. When Tony Pollard was here, I have been begging for them to put the ball in the few explosive players' hands that we had because it was such a sluggish offense at times
Mhm.
where we would matriculate down the field and then struggle in the red zone sometimes, or we're taking 7, 8, 9, 10 plays just to score 3 points. And
Mhm.
when you have a situation where your offense is bogged down, to me, the cheat code is just, hey, let's see if Turpin can pop one off, right? Let's see if Tony Pollard can pop one off.
Absolutely.
And we got to too many times where it was like, nah, we're gonna put the ball in Zeke's hands, or we're gonna put the ball in Gallup's hand. It's like, nah, man, you need to get some explosives, and we have, I think, a good number of guys who can go from 0 to 100 real quick on this
Yeah.
offense now. Just get the ball in their hands, and if it means the backfield, too high, then it's the backfield.
Yeah, man, that's what the NFL now to me is you need to be able to um work the clock if necessary, but you also need to be able to have explosive plays. It's about rhythm and timing, but it also about keeping people on their heels. And you see some of the best offenses have those explosive plays in games. And I'm sure it has to be hard on the defense because when you're matriculating down the field and all that stuff. And I also think this is a part of like the influx of too high that we've seen as well, is that you either got to break it or you got to work through it, and you got to be disciplined working through it. And teams that can do both are the ones that we are seeing be successful. So
Excellent
hopefully
point.
Dallas got it.
Because you're gonna see a lot of too high. Let's just know that. I mean, you've already
Especially
seen
with
that,
Pickens.
right? You
Especially with Pickens.
right. You've seen it with just in general because Dak was a lethal passer, and then CD Lamb, et cetera. But you're going to see more of it, and instead of combo coverages where they might play a cover two on one side to double CD and maybe go man on the other because they ain't scared of anybody else. No,
Mhm.
you're going to see two guys on that roof a lot, and you got to take advantage of that, whether that be on the ground, right, running the ball, or whether that
Mhm.
be just explosives with your other guys. Let's I'll wrap up my part of the list, and I think you touched on this. We're both in agreement here. It's something that we're watching for, and it's one of the main things, if not the number one thing I'm looking for here. We touched on a run scheme, right? And in order to, I think the run scheme is vital. I've been talking about this for years. Unless you have the 2014 Cowboys O line, 2016 Cowboys O line,
Mm.
where they could just maul people, et cetera. Even in those years, you had a scheme. You're going to need some type of scheme and design to help out a offensive line that may not have five Pro Bowlers on it. They may not have five first round picks, or may not have an All Pro in the backfield. So the number one ish thing I'm watching for here is this offensive line, not just this run scheme, just these guys in general. Because look, we're going to probably go from a deep standpoint if we get to the playoffs as far as the improvement of this O line goes. And
Mhm.
I think this O line will be improved for
Yeah.
a multitude of different reasons, not just one layered reason, one singular reason. Year two with Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, I think those guys are going to be better.
Mhm.
I think Beebe is going to be a little bit better than Guyton is, because I already think he's ahead of the curve. Guyton, I think, is going to be better. How
Mhm.
much better will be up to him, but also the coaching, helping mold him that way. And to we've been listening to Duke over the
Mhm.
last few weeks and talk about each and every one of these guys. In our last show, we talked about Duke. You know, him being able to help this unit, I think, may be the number one thing for this entire team in
Mhm.
training camp. If they can get on the same page, and if they can kind of be lock in step with this new Connor Riley and Clayton Adams scheme, that will do wonders for a faster start to the season on offense, because they have not gotten off to fast starts consistently offensively over the last 5 years.
Well, I think, well, first of all, yeah, we've talked about the fact that Duke is a luxury in this
Yes.
sense. Is Yeah, guys go to his clinic, but these people have him down the street. And I will say, I don't know Duke personally, but been watching him through the years. And the things I've heard on the back end is the difference in philosophies and stuff like that. That
Mm-hmm.
even there were some staffs that weren't fond of him because what they were teaching was different than what he was teaching the guys, which is just the basic fundamentals and all that stuff. So the listening to Duke talk about his excitement for this offensive line, specifically the interior, and also believing, he also said that he thinks that Terrence Steele, that's something we talked about,
Yep.
that Terrence Steele is in a position to do more things that he's comfortable and suited to do. I believe him. Like, and I say that because we can talk all day. We don't see these men every day. We don't. We don't work with them. We don't see what they're doing behind the scenes. This is a professional in his own right.
Yeah.
And if he is saying this is one of the more talent rich. He said this is the deepest and most talent rich in terms of depth quality I've seen the Cowboys have in a long time in an offensive line room. I think that he's saying that because you do have the guys that are the starters, but having a Brock Hoffman that you've seen play NFL games is not a bad thing. You know,
No,
having guys that we've seen, TJ Bass, Awesome Richards, we're looking for him to see how he takes an uptick because if he can become your swing, then you cooking with gas. A lot of teams do not have offensive linemen that they feel like they can field in a pinch and not have to change their whole philosophy. So to have some of these depth guys that have starting reps is important. But I also think like he thinks that they're going to be physical and be able to move guys off the ball. And I can't explain how excited I was hearing him speak about the fact that him and the coaching staff are on the same
yeah,
page. Because you got to think about the discord that might stem between the players too. Like they trust Duke. He's a constant for them.
I
He is
love when he brought
consistently
that up.
here.
It really, and I should have thought about it, but I didn't when he said even for a guy like Zach Martin, who's had 7 offensive line coaches, I think he said in his career, I've been the one constant,
I'm the constant.
and I'm
So
like,
you're
you,
li-
you go look at
so
Philly. We all talk about Philly, bro. They had the same offensive line coach for 20 years. Of course,
yeah,
it's easy to or I don't know if it's been 20 for those in the chat, but
it's
for a
not
long
20.
damn time. And so, of course, it's easy for them to develop a farm system because he is one of the best offensive line coaches ever, and they've had him
Yeah.
on that staff for a very long time. When the Cowboys had one of the best offensive line coaches ever in Bill Callahan, we were churning out undrafted free agents to become guys, right? Remember, Jeremy Purnell got paid because of Callahan. He got
Mm,
Ron Leary got paid
Ron
because of
Leary.
Callahan, right? So they were doing the same things. And if Connor Riley and Clayton Adams can be here for an extended period, which Clayton, I don't know, we'll see. Because
Jesus.
if the Cowboys do well, it could be coming after him. But if Connor Riley can be here for a good bit, then we can maybe have some of that type of success consistently from a depth standpoint, as opposed to always going out and having to get the veteran swing tackles, the Byron Bells, right, of the worlds, and leaning on that. So yeah, you're right. Having Duke there is a luxury, but more importantly, if Duke can get the best out of these guys in combination with Connor and Clayton Adams, that is, man, that it might be the number one thing without a shadow of a doubt from a
Mm.
positional standpoint for this camp.
Yeah, I don't think when you talk about getting the best out of them, I think you're starting off at a good foot. And I always liken this to the Duke thing. I liken it to the parent. I liken it to co-parenting. Y'all on the same page. That's gonna make things smoother for your kid. It is.
No,
It's gonna make
right.
drop off smoother. It's gonna make them holidays smoother. When those parents is communicating well and there's an understanding of standard or whatever discipline, whatever,
No, you're right.
then yeah, like I think that them being on the same page is gonna be huge. Offensive line gets the short end of the stick with the amount of work that they can do in a practice setting. And Duke being able to, those guys wanted to come to him and them getting that extra work is not something I take lightly. And I hope, and I think because the fact that the coaching staff is connected to him, maybe they're working things that are in the playbook. Maybe they're working things that are because again, we don't there I'm telling you from being in the building, there has been a couple staffs that were not fond of the fact that players were going to Duke in the off season.
I
But if
mean,
you
Mike
got a
Solari pretty much said it.
yeah,
I
but if
mean,
you have a staff that's like, no, this guy helps. We know these guys need this extra work. Maybe they're specifically saying like, hey, these are some things we're gonna be doing. I want you to work their hands in this stuff. I want you to work on how they're pulling. I want you to work, their footwork here. That I'm very ecstatic to see this offensive line because I do wholeheartedly believe they're going to improve, not only because of the scheme, but because you got good on good. Like, I'm sorry, like that interior should be pretty good to me. And I think Terrence Steele is going to take a jump. Guyton is the factor. He's the one. He's the
yeah.
one. You see him
Yeah,
shadow boxing
he out
yesterday?
there in that rain like he in the R&B videos is shadow boxing. What
Please.
the hell you shadow
Please.
boxing in the
You know
rain?
what I thought about immediately? I thought about every time I see somebody doing something in the rain, I think about do it for Lil Saint. when Omarion was over there pop locking and stuff. Sorry, y'all ignore me.
I think about those R&B videos when they was doing unnecessary things, wearing sweats in the desert and pleading they love to their girl. Like,
Honestly, I miss that.
what in the
Honestly,
world?
I wish we had more unrealistic stuff in music videos. The music videos
Oh,
too
the
real
R&B
now.
then was totally different than it is now. Now I ain't gonna get into what it is now, but
I
we
know
know
they
what it
don't
is
be
now.
singing about there's no yearning, Sky. There's no yearning.
No, they don't love no more.
Girl,
What
it
what
ain't none
what
of that
what
no more.
what my guy say, Steve Harvey? It's all shoot you in the chest and wet you.
Uh,
He said I don't want to be shot in the chest. I don't want to be wet from being shot in the chest. I want to be wet from making love. There ain't no more of that though. It ain't more of that. It's over. It's over.
no, it's dead.
You know,
No love
but
making
yeah, he
love.
was out there, shadow boxing, and to put a bow on this conversation, yeah, you're right. He is probably the biggest X factor up there, and I do think he takes the next step because I've
I
always
do
believed he was a 2025 player, and when I mentioned these things during 2024 after they were drafted, a lot of people, the offensive line. I'm like, yo, we got two rookies playing different positions. You have a left tackle who's only has like 13 starts in his college career, extremely raw. Relax. It's going to take some
Furthermore,
time. You're going to see him struggle.
per the article we read the other week, these guys were open about the fact that they weren't getting
Coach.
the coaching.
Yeah.
They weren't getting the support that they needed in transitioning to these other
But let me. Uh-oh. You're muted somehow.
barnacles. I didn't even touch it.
But let me give some love to Guyton accountability.
Yeah.
When he talked to the media, he admitted, "Hey man, I gotta be better. I'm not blaming nobody else. I just have to be better. It was not a good year for me, X, Y, Z." And he took that accountability, and I think he's taking that work and getting better. We have to go see that out in camp, but I do
Mm,
appreciate him, not leaning on any excuses. And look, he has talent. He has
yeah.
a specific set of skills. It's just about honing into them, getting stronger, right? Having a better understanding of the position because he is raw there. And to me, one of the main physical things I think he hopefully improves is his anchor because being that tall, he can. What did you? Was it you or Broad talk about dropping that ass? Pause. But that's you. Okay, yeah, dropping that ass. And as the young folks was telling me pause, but that's what Tuai will call it. And he wasn't great at doing that. Aisha, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The young folk be getting on me, man.
he definitely got to get more powerful in his lower half. But that's the thing about anchoring too. It's a timing thing. You got to know when to anchor.
Mm.
And some guys don't have the feel for when is the right time to
He don't.
anchor.
He didn't at least.
And so for him, yeah, and you see this with taller tackles. Anybody that plays Donovan Izaraku is going to experience it too. They're going to be hurting. These taller tackles, it is harder for them to find the knee bend and the balance and to like sit the way that they need to because there's some of them when you're dealing with some of these bendy edge rushers, these fast ones. I mean, they can't get any leverage with them. They can't level with them. So,
Yeah.
um, it makes me think about UFC, but that's besides the point. Anyway,
Look how
yeah,
multi talented Tuai is. She talking about UFC. She talking about the R&B. She talking about AB. No, I'm just playing. But
I'm a sports girl. Don't get me started because
yeah, don't
I'll
get
talk
twisted.
NBA with you too.
Don't get
Um,
twisted.
but no, it's this offensive line. Some of the key guys I'm looking for, Tyler Guyton. It's I know we gotta go, but you know what's weird? I feel like I'm not paying attention to Booker enough because he feels so NFL ready to
He
me
is.
that I don't have the same worry about him. So even when we're talking about this stuff, I'm more worried about Tyler Guyton.
I think
I am.
that's fair. Tuai.
Okay, I wanted to make
No,
sure I
you
didn't
fine.
feel guilty. I didn't want to feel bad for being like,
Mm-mm.
I'm worried about the left tackle. Like, and not because I think he's gonna be bad, but just because it just feels Booker, when you're watching him at practice, you don't think about the fact that he's a nugget. You don't, it doesn't even cross your mind that he's a nugget. It's just like, oh, he's out there.
He's a mature player physically, and he's a mature player mentally. that combination doesn't always happen for these rookies. And I mean, right off the bat, when we drafted him, go look at the draft show. I'm like, look, I know a lot of people are upset, and I had to talk to Foots about, like, but dog, he's plug and play. This isn't anything you have to think about and worry about. This is a guy that he moves people. He has a mentality. He's a leader. And one of the most underrated aspects about his game, and usually you worry about these type of guards coming in, is pass protection. He might be a better pass protector than he is a right guy. So I don't worry about Booker in that sense, especially since we're going to lean into what he does. Because the one thing, if you go back and look at my analysis of Booker, was, man, if we're going to be a wide zone team, if we're going to do a lot of that stuff, that isn't his game. But he and Coach Clayton Adams talked about how they're going to mold this offensive line into these guys' strengths. And when you got a strong left guard, a strong center, a strong right guard, they're going to use those guys to their strengths. They're going to use those guys to move dudes off the ball. Oh, and by the way, the right tackle is also a run guy as well. So
yeah, this is long overdue.
No.
This is long overdue. This offensive line, it's insane to me because if you were listening to the TV folks, you wouldn't know. This offensive line has been in limbo for years.
Oh yeah, they like to pretend this is a 2016
They
offense.
still be talking about it. Be like, who are y'all talking about right
Dak
now?
Prescott has had the best offensive line in his entire career, fam. Maybe for like 2 years of that entire.
And they used to be like, I mean, yeah, but Zach Martin's still in that offensive line, and I'm just be sitting here like, yes, but let's talk about this in context.
Yeah.
These guys are older, and this has been a revolving door, and so with Clayton Adams and those guys, they have a good year. I hope that Dallas tries to hold them hostage like they did Dan Quinn. For a while.
I don't even want to think about
And
it.
I think and as far as this offensive line goes, that interior, if they come together, the other stuff is gonna be okay. I think the other stuff's gonna be okay. I mean, obviously the tackles got to come on with it, but I do
They gotta
think
come on with it.
they do got to come on with it. They do. They absolutely do. But I want my tight ends to be able to be tight ends this year.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be
glorified.
Then your
tackles is gonna have to do what? Come on with it.
Come on with it. Come on with it. All right. All right.
That is some of our list, Cowboys Nation. In the comments, drop some of the things we didn't discuss. Like I said at the top of this, there's so many things. We weren't going to touch on all of them because obviously I want to hear from you guys as well. And then camp kicks off next week, the 21st, I believe. And then the 20th, I think they touch down. The 21st, they start practice. And we're gonna have you covered. I'm fired up. I cannot wait. And, you might see us a couple times next week just because we're so excited for this Cowboys training camp, which is one of their most important ones in the last half decade with the new staff and new players.
Yeah. Are you going?
Out to Oxnard? No. But Dallas.
No. I'm talking about what we doing next week.
Oh, do I want to name drop the guest?
No, you don't got to do all of that. I'm just saying, let the people know.
You're right. Thank you. For if you're still sticking around to the end of the show, we have a very, very special guest next week. As you can see, look at the smile, look at the cheese, and we're so excited. I am fired up to have this person on next week. I don't want to give away too much, but man, I mean, how excited are you to have this person on next week, too?
Oh, I don't even know what to do with myself.
What do I do with my hands?
No, we're not gonna like fangirl, obviously.
No.
But I don't know though. I get mad about that. I think it's okay to have people you excited about. Like,
no, absolutely. But also when you have guests, I'm doing this for so many years. Let me tell you, if you don't mind, we're in overtime. Okay, now Cowboys Nation. My very first big name interview was with my favorite player, one of my favorite players of all time. My two favorite players are Michael Irvin for the Cowboys and Darren Woodson. I played safety, and Darren Woodson was my favorite safety ever. And I got on the phone with Darren Woodson to get him on the show, and I was keeping it together. And I'm like, I appreciate you coming on, man. As soon as I hung up, Darren Woodson, baby, let's go. Like, I'm out here going crazy because I talked to Darren Woodson. I said, get it out the system now. Because I ain't trying to be in front of this damn camera talking about, we got Darren Woodson, y'all, and I'm all, crazy. So you're right. It is okay to get excited, but then the professionalism got to kick in, man. So you can get some good stuff out of these guests, man. So that's my little story time for right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
But yeah, guests next week, and we're also going to try to continue to have some guests throughout this camp. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Stick around for that, y'all. I'm excited. She's excited. You guys should be excited for the Sky and Twy show. We just getting started, baby. We just getting started.
Right.
Man. With that said, I'm going to get up out of here, man. Maybe I'm going to go see Superman for the second time. I love it. Peace.